And still, the undefeated light heavyweight champion of the world, Dmitry Bivol. Y'all listen, a lot of people are shocked that Dmitry Bivol, or Bivol, however you want to pronounce it, came out and outworked and outclassed Canelo Alvarez. I'm not shocked at all, right? Been watching Bivol perform for a while. My uncle is a guy who always felt, y'all seen my uncle on the channel before. My uncle is a guy who always felt like Bivol would give Canelo problems and beat him handedly. And that's exactly what happened last night. I gave Canelo Alvarez 3 rounds tops. Seriously, Canelo was outworked, outboxed, and it was clear. A lot of people came into this fight wondering, would corruption play a part in Canelo Alvarez being awarded the win last night? If the judges were already in his pocket and it was going to be over with to begin with. Some people were even feel like Bivol had to get a knockout or a couple of knockdowns to secure a victory, right? But I'm telling y'all right now, Bivol won too clearly for it to be a robbery. He won way too clearly for them to try to rob him. If they would have tried to rob him, the judges would have been in jail for corruption. It would have been that serious because it was not close. I'm watching this fight, man. Bivol's footwork, hand speed, defense, intelligence was just too overwhelming for Canelo Alvarez all night. I'm watching the fight. Canelo is visibly getting frustrated as the fight goes on, right? Bivol is landing the more effective shots, the cleaner shots, and Canelo's body work that he relies on a lot, it did not work. Canelo tries to break down that body, and ultimately in order for his opponents to drop their guard and get relaxed so he can open them up, right? And that's what usually is the tactic. I'm watching him. You know, Bivol's defense is excellent. He's blocking the shots with his arms getting hit. But the thing about Bivol is he's not getting gassed. He's not looking lethargic as the fight goes on. He's looking stronger as the fight continues. And compared in contrast to Canelo, who seemed to tire out as the fight went on, man. And I'm looking at it, man. Canelo's body shots couldn't get through. And again, Bivol's guard was exemplary. Like he hitting them arms up and all of that. That's all he was hitting. That was all that was really bruised after the fight was over with. I'm looking at Dmitry Bivol's face. It looked like he ain't even been in a fight. It looked like he was in a light sparring match with a lesser opponent, like a much lesser opponent for real. He looked fresh after the fight, man. And Canelo tried to connect to that body and it just wasn't happening, man. It wasn't happening. Canelo couldn't break Bivol down the way he does a lot of his opponents at all. And credit to Bivol's conditioning. It's like, for real, that conditioning he has is exactly why he didn't break that guard. You know, after getting hit on those arms a lot, he was conditioned to the max. And again, as the fight went on, he seemed to get stronger. Canelo was never able to establish his pace in a fight that he usually does. And it looked like Bivol, like he barely left second gear. Dmitry Bivol looked like he barely left second gear in this fight, man. And to me, Canelo seemed to be tiring out after he was, trying to avoid Bivol's shots. Bivol was throwing 4 or 5 shots at a time. And again, his hands were a lot quicker than most of Canelo's opponents. Of course, Floyd Mayweather has exceptional, extraordinary hand speed. I feel like Caleb Plant hand speed is pretty solid. Even Billy Joe Saunders. But a lot of guys don't have a lot of quick hand speed to try to negate what Canelo Alvarez is doing. They're saying this is not the case with Dmitry Bivol, for real. His straight shots were great, and again, he is one poised and confident fighter. Going into the fight, I think a lot of people had him as the underdog, even though he had been at that weight all his career. He was a natural in that weight. A lot of people were looking at him as the underdog, and they thought Canelo was just going to show his greatness and overcome whatever odds were there. Now, we know the height difference was there and so on and so forth, but Bivol's much bigger, but people felt like Canelo was just a superior fighter and he was going to figure out a way for it to get the win. And Bivol was looking like, he never thought Canelo was a better fighter than him. He never thought he would get washed. He never thought he had a chance to lose this fight, and you can tell by his poise in the ring. Like he generally looked confident all fight long, man. And for real, man, Bivol's shots were keeping Canelo honest. And Canelo cannot walk Bivol down like he's used to walking a lot of his opponents down. It was not going to work at all. And I'm looking at this fight like, man, this dude, I'm watching it, Canelo just looked outmatched. He looked outmatched, man, to the point, again, Canelo started to exhaust himself, trying to avoid those shots, trying to establish a body attack. And he looked like he was taking some rounds off because he looked so gassed. Bivol, in my opinion, did better than Irislandy Lara, who a lot of people felt like that was a controversial win for Canelo Alvarez. He did better than Triple G in their first fight, and I feel like Triple G won that first fight against Canelo Alvarez. But he did better than Triple G. Floyd Mayweather is the only individual who I can say had a cleaner performance, a cleaner victory against Canelo Alvarez. And even then, Canelo has improved as a fighter since fighting Floyd Mayweather Jr. He's improved on a lot of different things. So right now, the people that, the Canelo Alvarez in his prime, people did the best job against Canelo in his prime. Without question, man. Like, again, he had great hand speed, and he's a great boxer who's been at that weight a long time. You're not going to bully him. Those bully tactics that Canelo Alvarez can use were not going to work on this individual. And as the fight went on, Canelo was performing worse. And I'm watching this fight like, if Canelo don't get no knockout, if he doesn't secure the knockout, it's not, I'm telling y'all, it was looking too clear for Bivol. I'm like, he don't get no knockout or no knockdowns or nothing, this shit ain't gonna shake. I'm watching, after the fight, I'm watching with Terence Crawford and them saying like, yeah, it ain't looking too hot if he trying to secure this victory, because Bivol ain't going nowhere. And again, he's not intimidated by Canelo. That's the thing, he's not intimidated, man. Canelo lost in every way possible. Bivol was blocking everything Canelo was throwing and then countering him well. You know what I'm saying? And I'm understanding after this fight, Canelo Alvarez wants to exercise his rematch clause. But I'm going to tell y'all right now, I believe it's going to be the same outcome. Maybe even worse. Maybe after this fight, Bivol might be a lot more confident and say, you know what? I'm going to bang with his ass. And I'm going to look to knock him out. Now, we never seen Canelo knocked out before, but we don't, who's to say it's not going to happen? Shit, Bivol used to fight at that weight class. He's a big guy, big, strong guy. After watching that performance and after, he already had confidence, but this first fight might give him even more confidence to try to take the fight to Canelo and say, you know what? I'm trying to stop you. I'm trying to hurt you. I'm trying to punish you. And it could be a completely different outcome, man. Bivol was pressuring Canelo and bullying him. He was bullying Canelo. He was bullying the bully, man. And I ain't never seen Canelo get bullied like that, and Bivol did exactly what he was supposed to do. Exactly what he was supposed to do. Use his size to his advantage. Don't try to fight like a little man. No, fuck all of that. You the bigger dude? Fight. Fight him like the bigger man. And I know, since the fight happened, a lot of people are, and I understand when it's fandom, a lot of the Canelo Alvarez fans, you got to give him credit because he went up in division and he's doing this. And I know a lot of people going to point out the fact that Canelo, he went up and won a title against Sergey Kovalev, right? And everybody named Mama like to talk about that fight, about, how he fight Kovalev and all of that. But let's be honest, man, that was a lesser version of Sergey Kovalev. Clearly, that was not the same Sergey Kovalev that fought Andre Ward. That was not the same Kovalev that fought Ward at all. He was not the crusher anymore at that point. I'm sorry, I don't give him a whole lot because he went up in weight. That Sergey Kovalev was not the same, right? And but back to this fight, man, Bivol had all the tools necessary to beat Canelo, and the judges still had it 115 and 113, and it was never that close, fam. That fight was never that damn close at all. Watching that fight, it was not 115, 113. And again, I know people gonna say, because I'm seeing it now. Well, you gotta understand, Canelo went up in weight. You gotta give him credit for that. He's daring to be great. He's doing something that a lot of fighters don't want to do, so on and so forth. But listen, man, he chose to go up in that weight, right? When you choose to make that leap, nobody's gonna give you participation trophies for you performing well. You chose to do that. That's the challenge that you wanted to do. You felt like you can win and defeat this opponent, and you lost. Losses happen in boxing. A lot of the all-time greats lost. You know what I'm saying? But for the Canelo fans to try to lay out excuses, oh, he went up in weight, all that. No, because if he would have clearly whooped Dmitry Bivol's ass, y'all would have been telling us to kiss his ass and praise him, so on and so forth, right? So he went up in weight and he lost. He went up in weight feeling like he could defeat this guy, and he was clearly outboxed and outclassed. So don't hit me with he went up in weight, so you gotta give him credit, all of this and all, because if other fighters go up in weight, y'all ain't gonna give them the same credit either, right? Especially, I've seen fighters go up in weight and people just talk about how they got their ass whooped. Case in point, Adrien Broner. When Adrien Broner jumped like 2 weight classes to fight Marcos Maidana, right? Nobody gave Adrien Broner any credit for that shit. Nobody said, oh, at least he went up and weighed. Everybody's like, nah, fuck him. He's a clown. I don't like him. Get his ass out of here. And I know a lot of that had to do with the histrionics that Adrien Broner displays, his personality, so on and so forth. But y'all wasn't trying to give him credit for that. Y'all wasn't trying to give Adrien Broner credit. You know what I'm saying? You know, but it is always like that, though. You know, because when Mikey Garcia went up and weighed, all give Mikey credit. Yeah, but Mikey talking about he saw something and he felt like he was going to beat her early. He knew he was going to beat her early. He went in there and got his ass whooped. You know what I'm saying? So, nah, man. So, all of that, oh, give him credit now. No, listen. He went up and he chose to make the decision, and he went in there and he couldn't hang with dude in there, man. And the crazy thing about it is the same Ultra Canelo fans that's saying, oh, Bivol was just too big, those were the same people who were saying that Canelo Alvarez could beat Alexander Usyk for the heavyweight title. The same people who saying that Bivol he was too big now, he's too big. They the same people before this fight that said that Canelo Alvarez can move up to heavyweight and beat Alexander Usyk. So all that he too big shit, cut that out, because we heard what y'all was saying before the fight. Before this fight, y'all was saying that Canelo can go in there and beat Usyk, and he could be heavyweight champion and so on and so forth. Like it was no feat that was too big for Canelo Alvarez. Let all the super Canelo Alvarez fans tell it. It was no feat too big for Canelo Alvarez to accomplish. However, this one was too big. This was too tall of a task, right? Now, okay, you can give credit to Canelo Alvarez for going and getting into a tough fight. And, you know, it can happen in boxing. I just hope that this type of loss, because it was deemed a humongous upset, I hope it doesn't deter a lot of the other talents in boxing from taking on lofty challenges. I hope it doesn't try to deter them away from, oh my God, I don't want my old snatch, even though Canelo wasn't undefeated. He already lost to Floyd Mayweather Jr. But you know, the prestige with his name. He was out there beating guys handedly and he wasn't losing and all this and all of that. I hope it doesn't, you know, appear as a chink in Canelo's armor to where people don't want to take that risk because, oh my God, I don't want to get that same type of treatment after I lose. Wins and losses happen in the sport of boxing. Some of the greatest fighters that ever lived have lost fights. It can happen all the time, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, hey, it's a fight. Anybody can lose and anybody can win on a night of boxing. But last night, Canelo Alvarez was outworked in every single way possible. He was beaten every single way possible. And it is what it is, y'all. And I think if he go and get that rematch going, hey, it's going to be the same thing. And it may be even worse because Bivol has confidence now that he can probably try to hurt Canelo and try to go in there and really whoop his ass for real. Penitentiary style. Who knows, man? But excellent fight. Congratulations to Dmitry Bivol. The stock has officially risen for that young man. Yesterday's price is not today's price, as Fat Joe always says. Excellent performance, man. Machiavelli Mills TV, y'all let me know what y'all think about the fight in the comment section below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Sorry, I got my notes right here. I was reading a lot of my notes that I made and all of that, so that's why y'all see me looking or whatever. But nonetheless, man, great fight. And I'm looking for some more great fights in boxing. Upcoming, Jamel Charlo versus Brian Castano. And I'm going to give y'all my analysis of that fight when it occurs. Machiavelli Mills TV, I'm out. Peace.